He was just trying to eat breakfast until two cops tried to humiliate him. Then he made one phone call that changed everything. It's a little past 7:40 a.m. on a dull Tuesday in Macon, Georgia. The kind of day where the sky looks like someone forgot to finish painting it and the traffic lights blink like they're still waking up. Just off Vineville Street, there's a no-frills diner wedged between a laundromat and a payday loan spot. It's the type of joint where the coffee tastes like it's been reheated 3 times, but nobody complains because the conversations are warm. Sitting at his regular booth by the window is Malcolm Harris, back to the wall, same spot every Tuesday. His olive green field jacket looks like it's been through more than one war, worn at the edges but still pressed. His beard's patchy but cared for. He carries the scent of black coffee and hand-rolled tobacco, the kind you pack too tightly with a shaky thumb. Malcolm doesn't speak unless there's reason, and when he does, his words land calm and clear. "Morning, Mr. Harris," says Tanya, the waitress. Early 30s, sharp ponytail, 2 boys in elementary, and the kind of woman who can run a full floor and still notice when your toast is a little too dark. "Hey Tanya, any chance you got that apple pie this early?" he asks. She chuckles. "You know better than that. It's not even sliced yet. You want your usual?" He nods. No clarification needed. Scrambled eggs, creamy grits, 2 strips of bacon, dry toast if the corners ain't charred. Coffee. Always the same. Behind the counter, Ray, the owner, peers over his reading glasses. "He should be running this place, not me," he mutters to Tanya. "Honestly, he's the only reason I haven't sold it," she replies under her breath. To most outsiders, Malcolm looks like a man drifting through the cracks. No car out front, same pair of boots for years, and a duffel bag by his side with more miles than zippers. But inside this diner, he's steady. The kind of quiet that earns trust without asking. Malcolm stirs his coffee and keeps his eyes on the old TV above the counter. The news flickers through a story about VA backlogs. He barely reacts. Just a long exhale through the nose as he shifts his focus back outside. The streets begin to stir. Mercer students on bikes, parents in minivans dropping off at Monroe Elementary, early shift workers heading toward Robbins Air Force Base. No one notices the patrol car at first. No lights, no rush. Just 2 officers stepping out like it's nothing. Maybe for them it is. Officer Branson, tall with the kind of frame that says former linebacker, still lifts heavy, opens the door. His partner, Officer Doyle, square-jawed, clipboard in hand, right behind him. They walk in like clockwork, like they've done this at least 50 times. Tanya spots them first, draws in a breath, and stretches a smile across her face. "Morning, officers. Your usual booth?" But they don't respond. Branson's gaze is already locked on Malcolm. "Sir," he says, stepping closer. "You eating here?" Malcolm blinks once, steady, slow, then nods. "I am." "You order anything?" Doyle adds, a little sharper. "Coffee. Breakfast's on the way." Branson glances toward the counter. "You got proof of that?" Tanya takes a step forward. "He's good. He comes in every Tuesday." Branson doesn't even glance her way. "Did I ask you?" Tanya's lips part to say something, but Ray quietly raises a hand from behind the register. "Let it go," he murmurs. Malcolm stays still. No raised voice, no shift in posture. "I paid. She took the order. You can ask her." Doyle narrows his eyes. "You got ID on you?" Malcolm leans back carefully, reaches into the inside of his jacket and pulls out a weathered leather wallet, worn along the seams. He slides out a faded card and passes it over. Branson barely glances at it before scoffing. "This all you got?" "It's all I need." Doyle chuckles under his breath like it's a private joke. "Yeah, we'll see about that." But before they get another word in, the air inside thickens, that dense silence that creeps in right before something shifts. Doyle steps closer, arms folded like he's lining up a booking photo. "How long you been sitting here?" Malcolm flicks his eyes toward the clock. "Around 25 minutes. Branson tilts his head, one brow raised. "How long you planning on hanging around?" Malcolm doesn't flinch. Voice steady. "Long enough to eat like everyone else." Tanya places the plate gently in front of him, trying not to look rushed. "Here you go." Mr. Harris Branson's eyes narrow. "So he already ordered?" This time, Tanya doesn't budge. "He's here every Tuesday, pays in cash, never causes trouble. He's a regular, sir." Doyle leans forward again. You without housing? Malcolm nods, slow. Don't have a house, no, but I've got roots in this town. Branson smirks. You got clever words, huh? Malcolm doesn't reply. He picks up his fork like he's hoping the conversation will vanish with the first bite. It doesn't. See, this is exactly the issue, Branson says, raising his voice just enough like he's trying to win over the room. People think they can just park it anywhere, mooch off decent folks. That sound fair to anyone else in here? No one answers. No one wants to make it worse. A couple at the corner booth keep their eyes glued to their hash browns. A courier near the front door shifts awkwardly, pretending not to hear. Malcolm cuts into his eggs, chews with slow precision, then wipes his mouth clean. I did 2 tours in Fallujah. Came back, worked night security in Birmingham till my joints gave out. I make do. I don't steal. I don't panhandle. I pay for my meal. So tell me, why are you treating me like I broke into somebody's living room? Branson lets out a short laugh, empty of warmth. Relax. Just doing our job, making sure everything checks out. Tanya steps in again, her voice sharper now. Then check the register. He paid. I rang it in myself. What more do you need? Branson doesn't even blink. Doyle flips open a small notepad. Name. Malcolm raises an eyebrow. It's on the card. I said, say it out loud, Doyle repeats. Malcolm exhales slowly. Malcolm Harris, born January 22nd, 1967. Branson nods toward Doyle. Doyle mutters something as he walks out toward the cruiser. Ray finally steps out from behind the counter, towel in hand. Officers, can I speak with you outside for a moment? Branson waves him off. We're all set, sir. No, you're not, Ray says, louder now, voice low but firm. That man's been eating in this diner for over a year, never once caused trouble. So unless you've got a charge, are we just profiling veterans now? Branson turns, clearly annoyed. We're responding to a report. From who? Ray asks. No answer. Branson shifts his stance, keeps his eyes on Malcolm like he's waiting for something to go wrong. Malcolm finishes the last bite of his toast, pushes the plate forward slightly, then calmly wipes his hands. He reaches into his jacket again. This time, it's not a wallet he pulls out. It's a beat-up flip phone, the kind with scratches across the screen and a hinge that creaks. What's that? Branson says, his tone already bracing. Malcolm flips it open one-handed, presses a single number on speed dial, and holds it to his ear. Ray leans forward slightly, but Malcolm just raises one finger. 1 second. The call connects. A pause. Then, just as composed as ever, he says, "It's happening again." That's all. And suddenly the diner feels different. The kind of quiet that grabs your chest. No one knows who he called. But whatever that phrase means, the silence it leaves behind speaks louder than anything else. Branson's jaw tightens, like Malcolm just dropped something live on the table. Who the hell did you just call? Malcolm doesn't answer. He simply flips the phone closed, sets it gently beside his plate, and leans back in his seat. You said you were doing your job, he says, voice low and even. Now I'm doing mine. Branson steps in closer, squaring up, fingers tapping his duty belt. Sir, I'm going to need you to stand up and step outside with me. Ray has had enough. No, he's not. Not unless you're placing him under arrest. Just then, Doyle returns, tablet in hand. Name checks out. Malcolm says nothing, just reclines back slowly, like he already knew. Ray exhales hard through his nose. Tanya's wide eyes dart between the men like she's watching a live courtroom verdict. Branson looks around and realizes the whole diner saw. Every word, every movement. There's no walking this one back. And the worst part for them? The camera on Doyle's chest is still recording, and what it's captured is more than enough to shift everything. Coleman doesn't sit, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't even blink hard. He doesn't need to. I suggest you both step outside. Branson and Doyle freeze for a second, like kids caught red-handed by someone who doesn't need to shout to get obedience. After a long pause, they quietly step back, heads lowered, shoulders tense. The diner stays hushed, but not in peace. It's the kind of silence that stares. Malcolm reaches for his coffee. It's still warm. Coleman stands firm beside the booth, hands clasped behind his back. He leans in just enough, voice low, meant for Malcolm alone. You good? Malcolm gives a slight nod. Didn't want to make the call. I know, Coleman replies. But you weren't wrong to. Tanya finally speaks up, hesitant. Wait, what just happened? Who even is he? Malcolm glances up at her, someone who's known him longer than most. Ray folds his arms. You got friends who walk in flashing a DOJ badge and shut down cops mid-scene? Malcolm lets the faintest smile show. Depends on the scene. Coleman turns toward Tanya and Ray. I apologize for the disturbance. I won't take long. I just need a moment with Mr. Harris. Ray nods once. Say what you need. Coffee's on the house. Malcolm shakes his head. Put it on me. I always pay. Tanya offers a soft smile. Course you do. Coleman finally slides into the booth across from him. His tone changes now. Less business, more personal. The way only an old comrade can speak. You sure you're okay? Malcolm shrugs. Had worse mornings. Had better too. Coleman leans in slightly, his eyes narrowing. This makes the third time since January, doesn't it? Want me to send it up the chain? Malcolm doesn't answer right away. He folds his napkin, places it neatly beside his plate. Do what you gotta do. I'm tired of explaining myself to people who already made up their minds. Coleman nods slowly. You shouldn't have to. Not after everything you gave for this country. Malcolm's expression tightens, just for a breath. They only remember that when I've got the uniform on, not when I'm sitting here trying to finish breakfast. Coleman exhales through his nose. They'll be suspended, at the very least. Malcolm's eyes stay calm. I don't want apologies. I want accountability. I want them to actually learn something that matters. Coleman pulls out his phone. Body cam footage is getting flagged today. You'll get an official call from Internal Affairs. Probably 2 interviews. Then we loop in the media. Malcolm doesn't blink. Let them watch. Maybe next time they think before they act. Outside the diner window, Doyle is pacing near the cruiser, arms folded, visibly rattled. Branson is on his phone, face pale and clenched like he's holding back a storm. Inside, Tanya resumes pouring coffee, but her gaze keeps flicking toward Malcolm. She's never seen this version of him. None of them have. And that's the truth about men like Malcolm Harris. They don't broadcast their strength. They don't bark commands. They just carry more than most, quietly. Coleman rises without another word. He places a business card face down on the table. You call that number if anyone else steps wrong, got it? Malcolm nods once. I appreciate you. Coleman pauses, locking eyes with him. The people who matter do. But outside, something's shifting, and what Malcolm doesn't realize yet is that the real storm isn't from the officers. It's from the internet. 2 hours later, the diner's back in rhythm. Spoons tapping bowls. Quiet chatter rising and falling beneath the soft crackle of the old radio by the register. But the energy is off. Not because Malcolm's still sitting in his usual booth, but because of how people look at him now. Longer. Curious. Respectful. Tanya leans in as she tops off his coffee. You sure you want to stick around? Half the city's whispering already. Malcolm shrugs. I didn't do anything wrong. Ray lets out a grunt from the kitchen pass-through. You didn't. But people don't care about truth. They care about the spectacle. Malcolm sips slowly. Then they better bring their own mug. I'm not pouring it. That draws a quick laugh from Tanya, but it fades fast. The doorbell chimes again. Not a cop, not a regular. A teenage girl steps in, hoodie, sweatpants, clutching her phone like it's part of her palm. You him? She asks, walking straight toward Malcolm's booth. He glances up, confused. You're the guy from the video, right? The vet at Ray's diner. Malcolm frowns. How do you... TikTok, dude. Someone uploaded the body cam footage. It's everywhere. My brother goes to Georgia State. He saw it first. Malcolm leans back, jaw tightening. That was... She chuckles. You're trending, man. People are losing their minds. Those cops. Twitter's chewing them up. Ray walks over, brow pulled down. Wait, who posted it? She shrugs. No idea, but it's already at like 430,000 views. 2 hours, maybe less. Tanya crosses her arms. What does it even show? The girl scrolls and flips the screen toward them. On the small display, Doyle's body cam boots up. You can hear Branson asking for ID. You hear Tanya trying to intervene. You see Branson's hand moving toward his cuffs, then Malcolm calmly pulling out his flip phone the moment Coleman walks in. The whole thing feels staged, like a short film with stakes too real. Malcolm turns away, jaw tight. He's never liked seeing himself on screens. Feels too exposed, too dissected. "People are calling you a hero," the girl says, tone softening. "Silent soldier hero. There's even a hashtag. Malcolm Harris." He shakes his head gently. "I'm not a hero." "You're not invisible anymore," the girl replies softly. And then she's gone, just like that, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than noise. Tanya pulls out her phone, tapping quickly before glancing up. She's right. You're everywhere. There's blog posts, news blurbs. Someone from a paper in Savannah just DM'd me asking for an interview. Malcolm exhales long and low. "That's not what I was aiming for." "You sure?" Ray asks from the back, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Because maybe it's what we needed. People finally paying attention to what's been sitting right in front of them." Malcolm doesn't reply. His eyes settle on the VA card still resting on the table. Worn, bent at the corner, quiet. That little scrap of plastic never got him hired, never got him housed, never even got a thank you on the days it mattered most. But now it's viral. And that's complicated. Outside the glass, behind the hum of parked cars and passing conversations, bigger forces are stirring. Because once the internet grabs a story, it doesn't share. It ignites. By midday, Malcolm's name isn't just bouncing around timelines. It's scrolling across national headlines. Local station WRBL airs the bodycam footage, calling it yet another unchecked display of local power. CNN plays a short but pointed segment before the lunchtime broadcast cuts to weather. By nightfall, the clip has been chopped, stitched, subtitled, dramatized, debated and recycled by every influencer with a mic and a Wi-Fi signal. Everyone's asking, who is this man? Where did he come from? How did two local officers get comfortable enough to treat him like a threat in broad daylight? And then the digging begins. First, it's a blurry photo, grainy black and white, taken somewhere near Fallujah. 3 soldiers in dusty combat gear, rifles slung, eyes shadowed by fatigue. The one in the middle is unmistakably Malcolm. The caption reads, "Operative Malcolm Harris, Task Force Wildhound, 2006. No one online has heard of Task Force Wildhound, so naturally, they dig. Turns out it was a joint operations unit. Hostage recovery, deep cover extractions. Most of the files, still locked. But veterans know how to speak when it matters, and someone eventually leaks a partially redacted commendation letter dated 2007, addressed to Harris. The internet lights up. This man wasn't just a soldier. He saved lives, quietly, repeatedly. No press releases, no plaques, no ceremonies. Just a long shadow of service no one ever bothered to see, until now. Back in the diner, Malcolm has no idea how far the story's reached. He doesn't scroll, doesn't tweet, doesn't dance with hashtags. He's sitting right where he always does, flipping through the same old local paper, one that still hasn't caught up to him. And then, Coleman calls again. "You might want to brace yourself," Coleman says. "For what?" Malcolm asks, brow furrowed. The phones haven't stopped ringing. Congressional aides, news editors, a couple of big-name vets out of DC, all asking to shake your hand. Some non-profit even offered to buy you a house. Malcolm blinks slowly. "Buy me a house?" "Yeah," Coleman nods. "You're the internet's newest hero." Malcolm huffs a dry laugh, not from amusement, but disbelief. "All I did was sit down to eat," Coleman replies. "You stood up without standing up." Malcolm turns toward the window, where morning light cuts through like the world is suddenly moving faster than he ever asked it to. He's never been one for the spotlight, spent most of his life avoiding it. Now strangers are turning him into something symbolic, some for change, some just for views. Tanya walks by quietly and sets a small box on the table. "Someone from the VA center left this for you," she says. Inside, a crisp button-up shirt, a new pair of boots, a prepaid phone, and a folded note that simply reads, "Thank you, Sergeant Harris." Malcolm stares at it, still for a long moment. He doesn't need presents. What he wants is peace. But maybe this is the price of forcing the world to look at what it's tried so long to ignore. Ray, Malcolm says quietly. You ever feel like people don't see you until it's already too late? Ray doesn't glance up from the register. Only every damn day. What Malcolm doesn't know yet is that the video, the one where he kept his voice steady while others didn't, has begun cracking walls in places that usually pretend men like him don't exist. This isn't like most viral clips. It doesn't fade, it builds. By Thursday morning, the Macon Police Department releases a formal statement. We are initiating a full review of the incident involving Mr. Malcolm Harris, but the internet doesn't want a statement. They want accountability, they want names, and they already have them. Within hours, Officer Doyle wipes every social media profile he owns. Officer Branson tries to set his Facebook to private, but not before someone digs up old comments. Some of them ugly, the kind of posts that make people wonder how he ever wore a badge in the first place. Outside the department's front steps, a small group of protesters gathers, not hundreds, not even dozens, just enough to form a silent wall on the sidewalk, holding signs that read, "I am Malcolm Harris." No chants, no shouting, just presence. And somehow that's louder than noise. Meanwhile, journalists begin digging deeper, pulling at threads the department never expected anyone to notice. Turns out Branson had a history. This wasn't his first complaint for profiling. Not his third. Not even his fifth. Reports were written and buried, names forgotten, letters never reaching the right inbox. But Malcolm's one call didn't just make noise. It shook the entire system. At the diner, everything feels different now. Tanya's done 2 interviews. Ray's face ended up in a feature on a local blog. Customers show up just to sit where Malcolm sat. One guy even asked to take a selfie with the chair. Malcolm watches it all and shakes his head. "I'm not a damn attraction," he mutters. Tanya, passing by, replies softly, "You're a mirror, Malcolm." People just don't like what's looking back at them. Still, he doesn't feel like any kind of hero. Heroes get peace. They get home. He's still sleeping in the same shelter bunk, still folding his jacket into a pillow, still stretching through the same pain in his knees when the sun rises. But something in the air has shifted. One evening, a white van pulls up outside the shelter. 2 men in suits step out, asking for Malcolm by name. They hand him a sealed envelope. Inside, an official letter from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. It includes an apology, a priority housing voucher, access to therapy, a designated caseworker, and a counselor. Malcolm stares at the paper like it's written in code. "I didn't ask for any of this," he says quietly. The younger man nods once. "No, sir, but you earned it." That night, Malcolm doesn't sleep much. He lies on his back on the cot, eyes fixed on the ceiling, thinking about the guys who didn't make it home. The ones who never got letters, never went viral, never got seen, just gone, forgotten. By Friday, the department acts. The officers are officially suspended. The mayor gives a statement. The police chief reads a scripted apology, lawyered up, polished down, empty. But it doesn't matter. Public pressure does what bureaucracy never would. Doyle resigns. Branson refuses. But with new cases reopening and old skeletons surfacing, his badge is barely hanging on. Even the unions pulling away. Dead weight is dead weight. Malcolm watches all of it unfold from a bench outside the shelter. There's a news crew nearby, waiting, hoping. He's not in the mood. Not today. He lights a cigarette. He doesn't usually smoke. But today feels like one of those days. A woman walks past, maybe late 60s, grey curls tucked under a hat. She pauses when she recognizes him. "Thank you," she says. Malcolm doesn't ask what for. He just nods, once. Because maybe, finally, people are beginning to get it. Respect isn't charity. It isn't pity. It's dignity. Earned. Deserved. And if it took one morning, one booth, one quiet man with a flip phone to shake the foundation, then so be it. Still, there's something left unsaid. Malcolm knows it won't come from a press release. It won't come from a protest or a trending tag. It has to come from him. And that's why, the following Sunday morning, the diner feels different. No cameras, no reporters, just quiet, just the regulars again. Locals who come for Ray's eggs and Tanya's side-eye updates. The ones who were there before the hashtags, and the ones who'll still be there when the noise fades. Malcolm walks in, same weathered army jacket on his shoulders, But something in the way he carries himself has changed. Not rigid, not proud, grounded, like a man who knows where he stands, even if the earth beneath him keeps shifting. Ray nods toward the usual booth. It's open. But Malcolm doesn't sit. He clears his throat once. At first, no one notices. Then Tanya spots him. "Mr. Harris?" she asks, setting down a tray. "I got something I need to say," Malcolm replies, eyes slowly scanning the room. The clatter fades. Voices hush. He begins. "I'm not a hero." The words land flat but firm. "I didn't come here looking to be a story. I just wanted eggs and coffee, like I do every Tuesday, like I've done for years." He looks over at Ray, at Tanya. "You saw me, not as a threat, not as a favor, as me." He turns now, speaking to everyone. "Some people didn't, but now that video's out, folks are watching. That's good, but watching isn't the same as understanding." A couple heads nod. One man sets his fork down, slow. Malcolm taps the front of his jacket. "I wore this in the desert. I watched men I loved die in heat and dust for a country that forgets you the second you're not wearing the patch anymore." His voice is calm, steady, but his words hit hard. "I never asked for applause. I asked for a chair. I didn't want a ceremony, just a warm plate." He pauses. "And even then, I had to prove I belonged." Now he takes a step forward. "There are thousands like me. You won't see them trending. You won't hear their names. Some are sleeping on benches. Some are limping to jobs their bodies can't handle anymore. Some stopped speaking because they got tired of shouting into silence." He raises a hand. "But listen, being poor is not a crime. Being exhausted is not a weakness. And asking to be treated like a human being should never be seen as a threat." Tanya dabs at her cheek, pretending it's just a scratch. It's not. Malcolm gives a small, quiet smile. Everyone walks in carrying stories no one sees. So next time someone looks like they don't belong, maybe they do. Maybe more than you. Then he nods once. And finally, he takes his seat. No one claps. No one has to. Some truths are loudest in silence. The morning rolls on. People come and go. A few leave folded bills on his table. One woman drops off a handwritten note and walks out without saying a word. Ray brings him another coffee, no questions asked. That afternoon, Malcolm returns to the shelter one last time. Packs his bag. In his pocket, the apartment key from the VA feels unfamiliar, cold and solid, like something permanent. Later that week, the headlines fade, then the reels, then the firestorm. Social media finds someone new to chase. But Malcolm doesn't fade with it. He plants roots in a small neighborhood that sees him, where people knock on his door not with questions but with conversation. He starts volunteering at a nearby school, talking to students about service, about stillness, about dignity. No one introduces him with titles. They just say, "This is Mr. Harris. You're going to want to hear what he says." And people do, not because he went viral, but because they see him now, truly see him. Let this story remind you, not all heroes wear capes. Some wear jackets older than you. Some sip coffee in silence. Some fight battles you'll never hear about. Respect isn't something you give once someone's gone. It's something you show while they're still here. So next time you cross paths with someone who looks forgotten, don't assume, don't scroll past. Say hello, share a table, buy a coffee, look them in the eye and let them know they matter, because they do.